Hey everyone! Today I want to show you the LLP, Language Learning Plugin, that I created with the help of Sasha Boyko. This plugin was created to help students and other learners to practice languages inside games. My main goal is to encourage developers to create more educational games and to inspire teachers to use games as a teaching tool. In this video, I'm going to cover every function that this plugin contains, and you, as a developer, can choose if you see this plugin useful for your project. If you have any feedback, please write it in the comments or on any of my socials. Thank you very much. This plugin is divided into two main systems, books and students. Both systems are libraries of words. You can add words, remove them, update them, and use them for your needs. Why two systems? The reason I separated books and students is flexibility. Books are a collection of words, static and organized. Students' system tracks learning progress over time. You can use only books, only students, or both together. The plugin fully supports all of these setups. For example, in a classroom, you might only use books because schools do not always track which student uses which computer. In a game that tracks progress, you might only use students and not books at all. I even recommended for some teachers to start with predefined books without allowing editing so they can focus on teaching instead of managing content. Single player and multiplayer. Currently, the plugin is single player focused. However, I intentionally designed it so that converting it to multiplayer should not be difficult. Managers. Each system has its own manager. A student manager is like a teacher managing a class. The book manager is like a librarian managing a library. Each manager can clear all its data, can add item, so it's add student or add book, remove one item, so remove one student or remove one book, remove by name, so removing by the student name or by the name of the book, and getting all the students and getting all the books. We don't see here a lot of functions, but that's intentional. Actions that affect a specific book or student are done on the object itself, not on the manager. This keeps the system clean and easy to understand. Whichever system you choose to use, you need to create a manager for it. If your project has only one level, you can create the manager anywhere. However, if you have more than one level, I recommend saving it in the game instance. After creating the managers, you need to initialize them at the start of the game by filling them with all the information from the library. All the data related to the students or books is saved in a JSON file. When the game starts, you should call getFromJSON file, whether it's books, students, or both, and that will populate the book manager and student manager with the saved information. At the end of the game, you must make sure to call the save function. This will write the current data for books, students, or both back into the JSON file. In this way, all the progress made in the game will be saved after closing the game. You can also generate a predefined library and use it without saving if you don't want the players to edit or add new words. This option is useful for projects where the content should remain fixed. Okay, let's now look at book. Book has a couple of variables. The first thing is name. Second thing is pages. Each page has its own name, a page number if you want to sort them, and the words that the page contains. And later I'll talk about word in more depth. You can also add author, description, and tag for each book, and that's optional if you want to add more information to each. You can also edit all of those information by calling the set functions. So setting book name, setting author, setting description, and setting tag. And you can also set all of them in one function. One thing you would notice here, that we have a book manager inside the set book name, and that is because I made it specifically so we will not have the same name twice. Pages is not in this list because we have whole section just for him. So let's go inside of it. We can create a new page, we can add a page to a book, we can delete page, and we can sort all the pages by the page number. If we want to add words into a page, we can do that with add word into page as one single word, or add multiple words as a string. And I will explain this one more when we get a student, as it's the same thing. We can also set a word. So if we want to update a word, we can use the set word in page, and that will update a specific word. We can also set the page name, set its number, and delete a word in the page. Book is pretty simple. Next, we see the second system, the student system. The student has two main variables, names and grade. We also have other, which we'll talk about, but those are the main thing you need to have a student. Student will have name, grade, and of course going to have the words, which we'll see later. I also added that you can save the book name that the student is currently learning, and you can also get and set the days between each time you need to practice a specific word. It is important to say that the days between practice is not static. The days increase based on how well the student knows each word. So for example, on the first time that a student gets a word, it's going to be how well she knows it, which would be 0, multiplied by the days. So this means that the amount of days that it is until next time she needs to practice is 0. She needs to practice it right now. When she succeeds, the knowledge level will be increased by 1. So the next time, the amount of days until the next practice will be this number multiply by 1. So it is the same number, and next time will be increased by 1. So it will be this number multiplied by 2, and so on. The more you know a word, the less frequent you're going to see the word. This means that the student actually practice on the words she actually needs to learn. And she will see eventually words that she already learned just for practicing them. The default is 15, if I remember correct. We can also get, for each word, the amount of days you have until you need to learn this word. Next, let's talk about words. In book, we've seen that we have one array of words for each page. In students, it's a bit different. Each student has 2 arrays of words. One array, I call it library because it's easier to understand it. And the second one, I like to call it the currently learning list. The library is all the words the student has, and the currently learning array is a list of words that is going to be empty at the start, and you're going to fill it with words from library or other sources, and you're going to use it in order to learn inside of the game itself, and at the end of the session you're going to put it back into the library and empty it. Let's see how we can fill each array and what would be the best way to use them. So first of all, we can see that we can get all the words from the library and all the words for the currently learning array, and each one has different struct of word, and we're going to discuss this one with the book word. So next, we can add words into the library and into the currently learning array. And there are 4 ways of adding words. First thing is adding one word to the array. You can add one into the library and add one into the currently learning array. You can also add multiple words. You can also add them as a string, and that's something that I said we're going to talk about. Add words as a string. This means we're actually going to get a huge, it's usually going for bulk amount of words. So we are going to add, for example, a whole, I would say something like, let's say just 100 words you want to add. You're not just going to add one by one by one. Even adding them as an array, it's going to be quite difficult. So adding them as a string is very useful. So you can just copy them from an Excel, Google Sheet, or Quizlet, and you can just copy them here, add a separator for each word and for the translation, and choose if you want to choose a language for each one. You don't have to. The language is going to be default to English if you don't choose one. And for the library, you can also choose how well you know the word and priority if you want. This thing will add a whole lot of words, and that's pretty useful. Next, the last thing, it's pretty different ways of adding words. So I added this inside of a comment of itself. And this is adding a page. You can also, if you want, add a page into from the book to the student. And that's a really useful way to use both systems simultaneously. So you have the books, you have the student, and you're adding a list of words from the book system to the student system. Next thing, we simply can just update a specific word, change the information. And last thing we have, delete. This thing will delete one word or the whole library. And it's pretty, I will say, be careful from using empty library. You probably would be using empty the currently learning list, although those things are not that common, but you have the option. Just be careful with emptying the library, because that will delete all the information. And one last thing that I have forgot to speak about in the adding words, that is this unique function. And that is one of the most, I would say, important function here. This function is adding words from the library to the currently learning array. That is pretty much the reason why we have 2 arrays. So what we're going to do, if we need to actually practice an amount of words, we can, okay, let's get all the words we need to practice and give me, and then we're asking the user to say how many words they want to practice. So if you have 100 words to practice, you can say, okay, I want to practice 10, and that will add 10 random words from the words you need to practice into the currently learning array, and then you can use them. If you want to add all the words, you can just put -1, and that will add all the words. Something that I might add later, and I'm not sure yet, but it probably will, is adding also the amount of words that were added. And the reason why I would probably do that is because if you, for example, have only 20 words and you ask for 100, that will only add 20 because you only have 20 words to practice. You can still check how many words you have in the currently learning array, but I might also do that in the future. The last thing we have, which is non-related to the adding words or updating them, we have the learning progress functions. And those functions are going to be called inside of the game itself, inside of the gameplay of the game that you're going to create. So when you ask a student to translate a word or do whatever she needs to do to learn this, you're going to call learning success or learning fail based on how well she did in answering the question. So learning success will increase the knowledge level, and learning fail will decrease the knowledge level. Increase means by 1, decrease means divided by 2. It will be tested more, but in general, it shouldn't be too harsh, but still keeping the student learning the word again if she does not know it. And in the end, when you finish the game, you need to call finish learning. And what finish learning is going to do, it will take all the words from currently learning array to library and update the library to have all the words well organized. If you have duplicates, it will sort, it will take care of that. Anything that might happen, this function will take care of it, and it will also empty the currently learning array. So that, as I said, the empty array is not that needed, but if you want, you can use it. Before going into Word, one last thing about all the functions. I specifically made it so it will be as easy to use as it can be. For example, if you don't know how to find specific function, if it's a student manager function, just take a student manager, search from the student manager the word student manager, and we will see all the functions that are related to student manager, and they will be sorted into categories. Same thing for book manager, or just student. With that said, let's go into Word. The Word has a word base, and that is the word that we've seen in the book. Word base has a term, definitions for the word. One word can have multiple definitions, and it can have a language for the term and a language for the definition. From word base, we have word that tracks progress. That is the word that we are seeing in the library. You can see it has the term, definitions, the languages, the term language and the definition language, and it also has other things like tag in priority, which you probably don't have to use, but you can. The more important thing is the knowledge level for the word. That is the number that I said is going to be increased every time you learn the word successfully. You can also see the amount of time you have learned the word, the last time the word was changed, was learned pretty much, and the date of when you created this word. We also have the word in game. This is the word you're going to see in the currently learning array. And you can see that similarly, this word also inherits from word base, which means it has term, definitions, and so on. And it has also a couple more things. We have the amount of time you learn this word, and that's different from the one in the library. The learning amount means how many, if you want to, inside of the game itself, you want to learn it multiple times before removing it from the array. Another two things that we have here is was learned and was learned successfully. And the difference between those two is when you learn a word, you can learn it again, but the second time you're going to learn it is going to check if it was learned already. So if it was learned, and doesn't matter if you learned it successfully or fail, it will not change the second variable, which is learned successfully. So for example, the first time we learn unsuccessfully, it's going to flag was learned successfully as false and was learned as true. The second time you're going to call the function, doesn't matter, could be learned successfully, it's going to see that was learned already is checked, so it will not do anything and will just increase the learning amount by 1. So that is the core of the LLP plugin. The plugin is not released yet. I want to have more testing and better examples before making it public, but if you do want to test the plugin, use it early, or help improve it, you can contact me and I will help you set it up for your game. More example project will be coming soon. Thank you for watching.